Welcome to the Pro Wrestler's Handbook. Stephen Platinum here. It's loud. There's a storm raging outside. This is the first time I've ever tried to do a location shoot, as it were. I am obviously not in my living room, but had my laptop with me. Thought it was kind of a cool backdrop. Storm inspired me, so there's a number of videos I'm intending to make very soon. Put out, of course, the full disclosure this morning. Tomorrow, by the way, is Tipping Point podcast I do with Larry Goodman. We have a number of great guests. But I wanted to do a Pro Wrestler's Handbook because I realized that I haven't covered a couple of things that are just essential. So one of them is going to be for the boys and women, of course, that wrestle. And the other one's going to be for the bookers. Hopefully the whole thing is worth listening to. So I think it is often assumed that match structure, the basic match structure, is known by everybody and understood by all pro wrestlers. But I can tell when I read show reports and I watch matches, especially on the independent level, that this is not true. Now, am I saying that what I'm going to tell you now, every match has to be structured this way? No, not necessarily. There's a number of factors, which means you can change this, right? If the two people are telling a story based on a long-term thing and they've told a story that is evolving match to match, that's a possibility. Perhaps the gimmick nature of the match changes the story that they're going to tell. Whatever the case may be. But there's an old adage in art, you have to know the rules in order to break them, and I firmly believe that. Wow, the roof leaks in this joint. That's that sound. Yikes. I feel a little imperiled sitting here. Leaky roof, storm outside, only really a screen to protect me. But I like it. It's a lot of energy. It's the organic feel that you want in a wrestling show. So you've got your match. Babyface, heel. Who shines at the beginning of a match, a typical match? Babyface. Great. If you knew the answer to that, wonderful. Why? Why? That's a question I'm going to ask a lot and then answer. I believe that true knowledge comes when you know the reason why something is done, not just merely what is done. When you're a child, you memorize your multiplication tables. You memorize things. But as you get older, as you get to middle school, lightning, middle school. Yes. Middle school, high school, college. The higher you go up in academic education, the more that they are teaching you how to think for yourself. That you take the knowledge that you previously gained and now you apply it and learn it. It's the difference between intelligence and knowing things and wisdom, which is the application of intelligence. Maybe you just learned what that is today. Good. Glad I could help. Anyway, why babyfaces dominate the beginning of the match? They have to show that they are worthy of your adoration as a viewer, as a fan. That there's a reason they deserve your adoration. And it is because babyfaces are show-offs, right? But they're show-offs with a moral structure. So they show that they can out-wrestle, right? Maybe the heel sort of gets something over on them, takes them down, paintbrushes the back of their head, ha ha ha. But the babyface is going to give it back to them and then some. The babyface is going to prove him or herself superior in the beginning of the match until the heel, frustrated by his or her inability to out-wrestle and outcompete on legitimate terms, the babyface cheats. And at that point, turns the tide. The heel dominates the middle of the match, putting heat on the babyface. However, if you have to watch that for too long, especially a modern audience, without a break, it not only takes away the believability of the heel's offense if he keeps putting offense onto the babyface and can't put them away, but crowds tend to get bored and disinterested and lose faith in the babyface, which you never want. So once in a while, you have to do a hope spot. What is a hope spot? And forgive me if this is elementary for a lot of you listening. This is my basic 101 course for a match, right? A hope spot is when the babyface does something, gets a quick roll-up that might get a pin, starts to mount a comeback, that gets the crowd back into the notion that the babyface might be coming back, so it generates their hopes again, builds the energy back up. Like all this energy I'm getting from this storm right now, builds the energy back up, gains interest in the match. Maybe they start stomping up and down. Here comes the babyface, but then he gets cut off. Meaning the heel stops the momentum, regains control, keeps putting heat back on the babyface. So if we're looking at it linearly in terms of storytelling, boom, babyface shines, starts up hot. He's going. It's going well. It's going well. Boom, heel takes over. Boom, 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 boom. Hope spot, cut off. Hope spot, cut off. But it doesn't drop down to nothing. Each hope spot gives a little bit more hope. A little bit more hope until we have a situation where it turns around. Perhaps it's a double down. Both guys are down. The crowd then mentally gets to note, okay, now we're going towards the finish. Even if they don't overtly understand that, there has to be a moment in the match where we understand, okay, we're going into the finale. All of this is structured in order to take the crowd on this emotional journey. So we are there for the climax. Now, guys like Al Snow will say you can only have one pop in a match, like sex. That means they're doing it wrong, by the way. You should be giving multiple pops to your partner. That's neither here nor there. He would say you can only have one pop, which is the ultimate climax moment of the match, where either the babyface wins, justice is served, everything's wonderful in the world, or slip on a banana peel and the heel wins. That's how I was taught. Either way, what you're really looking for is to push the match to the ultimate emotional crescendo, where all of the chips metaphorically have been pushed on the table from both sides, and now whoever wins, ultimate triumph. Whoever loses, ultimate tragedy. That is the basic structure of a match. And you can see how tag team matches follow this formula. In the beginning, babyfaces shine. A lot of tags back and forth. A lot of double teaming moves that are going off successfully. Then they get cut off. Then somebody is the Ricky Morton, the babyface that takes the beating. And he gives you hope. Maybe he's going to get the tag. No, he doesn't. Gets beat down some more. He gives you some hope. He fires back on both guys. Maybe he's going to get the tag. No, he doesn't. And then all of a sudden, boom, double down. Both of them are going for the corner. Who should tag first after all of that? The heels, because you want to build up the notion that once again the baby faces are going to be cut off from making the tag. So the heel makes the tag. The heel rushes over. The baby face dives or rolls, makes that tag. Oh boy, what happens when he makes that tag? Now we're in the final act. Babyface that's been waiting forever on the apron to get that tag comes in, a house of fire, right? Cleans house, then we go to a finish. That is match structure. Now, bookers, you know I'm talking to you. We want to fuck you easy. I want to fuck you too. Sorry. Bookers, this concept is simple. We all hate 50-50 booking when we watch the WWE. We all hate that there's a mass of guys that sometimes they lose, sometimes they win. Even against the same opponents, They'll trade wins. If somebody beats somebody in a pay-per-view, if they wrestle on the following Raw, then they have to get their win back. And what that does is nobody really gets elevated, nobody really gets dropped, and you end up with booking. This is a harsh thing to learn, so I'm going to get closer. By the way, my shirt rules. Booking is a pyramid, but a very sharp, tall pyramid, semi-thin on the bottom. Meaning, a whole lot of people are there to hold up 4. That hold up 2. That hold up 1. Who is the star of your promotion? Answer the fucking question. Who is the one at the top of the pyramid? Now, maybe you just reflexively answered your champion, and that may be the answer. Or maybe you go, well, I don't really have. If the answer is, I don't really, fail. A group, hold up 4. Those are your upper mid-carders. Hold up 2. Those are the top people that are embroiled in your main feud. That isn't necessarily for your title. Hold up 1. That's hard to fathom, isn't it? Does that mean I have to sacrifice all the... Yes. If the guys down here trade wins and losses, it's of little consequence, and that's fine. But we should be able to tell what your top 10 is in your league. Or in this case, bookers, engage in this exercise in your promotion. 1 line at the top. What's the name that's there? The 2 lines underneath that name. What are the names that are there? The 4 under them, what are those names? And then who's everybody else? That's tough. That doesn't mean you can't have multiple angles and stories going. Of course you can. But if you don't have one person who is getting the majority of the attention and the rocket on their back to the moon, you're failing. If you're trying to elevate an entire roster of 14, you're elevating nobody. Pyramid bottom. Holding up 4. Those 4 are holding up 2. And ultimately, those 2 are holding up 1. It's not easy to do. But the leagues that are the most successful manage to pull this off. Those 4 are the ones that have main event potential later, but are the most interesting right now. The 2 are the ones that we're letting the crowd kind of... The 2 are the ones that were positive are going to be the top person. Now that could be the champion. That could just be the most over person that you've got. And the 1, we all know what that is. That's the man or the woman. Yeah? Think about your favorite era of wrestling and your favorite promotion at that time. Yeah? Ric Flair, top. Dusty Rhodes and whatever babyface came out of the 4 Horsemen. Lex Luger. Nikita Koloff converted into a babyface. Barry Windham. Whatever. Undercard feuds that mattered with potential future stars like Magnum TA, Tully Blanchard, whomever. And then everybody else. Does that mean Boogie Woogie Man wasn't important? He was. And he was embroiled in feuds, and he was a big part of the cards, and he headlined their B and C shows. But let's be honest. If you saw Boogie Woogie Man against Ric Flair, it doesn't feel right, does it? And that's okay. If everybody's special, nobody is. If everybody's special, nobody is. If everybody's special, nobody is. That's the hardest booking lesson of all. This has been the Pro Wrestler's Handbook. That's a storm. And I'm going to get the fuck out of here before lightning strikes.